Hello and thanks for joining me. Look, I do apologise. I did the last Hossfeld type bender video quite some time ago. I got a little bit sidetracked in that last video. I broke my vise and I really did need to get another vise. And having a vise build on the list, I thought it was a good opportunity to do that then. And that went over 3 videos, and then I made a tilting plate for it, so things sort of got a little bit dragged out there. There was also a couple of shop-made tools and upgrades videos in there as well. But anyway, we're back onto the Hossfeld bender. In the last 2 videos for the bender, I've built the frame and I've got all that stuff sorted out. So these following videos will be pretty much all based around the tooling for the Hossfeld bender. And I've already made a couple of pins, the center pin and a couple of the U pins up. But there's a lot more tooling that I need to make up so that I can actually use this bender properly. So what I'm going to do is list out some of the tooling that I want to make, and I'm probably not going to get them all in this video, so they'll probably be spanned out a few videos. First on the list was the flathead pins. So these typically go into the swinging arm, and there's 3 pins. Well, there's 2 flathead pins. The standard flathead pin, there's a offset flathead pin, and the last one that I really need is the eye pin. So it's just a pin with a round hole at the top, and that's used for the eye bolt bending dog. So another piece of tooling I want to make are these blocks. There's 2 of these, and they're basically square blocks with an offset hole, and they go into the fixed frame, usually to hold the metal that you're bending, so it's like an anchor point. There's a couple of sort of frame components here. So this is the tab that fits underneath the main pin where the fixed frame and the swinging frame hinge, and this allows you to adjust the height of the pin, and it stops the pin from falling out as well. You may recall from one of my other videos where I made the center pin and the top and the bottom of the pin was turned down to smaller diameters, and that's so that you can bend tight bends around there with the smaller types of metal. So this piece here allows you to adjust the height of that pin so that you can set the diameter for bending your metal around the pin. And there's this piece here, U-pin support. So basically it's a bar that fits under the fixed frame, and it just stops the pins from falling through, or gives them something to sit on so they're at a consistent height when you're putting them in each hole. This is the eye bolt bending dog. So this is what you'd use to bend your thinner materials on the top of the bender. So it works with the eye bolt pin as well. I'll look at making a couple of the rollers here, which should be relatively easy to make. And there is a lot more other tooling to be made as well, but I think these components here are the ones that are high on priority to give me the tools for doing the basic bending that I need to do anyway. So I was going to start with these blocks here. And I do have a big chunk of steel that I bought off an auction site, and that's going to take quite a while to cut through. So what I might do is I might set that going in the bandsaw, and I'll carry on and make up one other part that I haven't mentioned here. It's just a spacer that fits into the fixed frame hole, and it's actually where this block would sit on it to lift the block up. And what it allows is the swinging arm to come in closer and actually underneath the block without interfering with the block here. I don't know what the steel is. It's just a big chunk of steel. I've had to cut it over here because there's a hole through here, and there's actually one that goes in the end here, probably about sort of halfway down there. So the block I need to make is down here, so there'll be 2 blocks. So I have to cut it off here, and I've got another 2 cuts to after this. This has been going for a long time. We're only halfway through, so I'll just carry on making the other parts while this is cutting, and I'll come back to this once it's cut off. So that was about 10 minutes of making a bunch of parts on fast forward. And I did put some notes up there on the screen on sizes and what I was doing, but maybe we have a bit more of a talk about it here. So the two pins here, the flat pins, one is a what they call the straight flat pin and one is the offset pin. All of these parts here are all 20mm round bar, and I've just welded some flats on here. And as you saw, I milled out this piece and this piece to different depths to get the offset for that flat bar that goes on the top there. Now I've also, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but this one here has a notch here and a notch on that side, and I've just used the lathe in here to just take it back a bit so that fits in the bender and then it can spin around quite nicely. This one here has a flat on the bottom here, so that can spin around. So it has a place to register, to sit down at the bottom of that edge there. Here is the eye bolt. So just a piece of square bar, and I recessed the hole in here, as you saw, turned down the 20mm shaft to a smaller diameter, put it in the hole and welded it around. And then I've just sort of cleaned that up on the lathe, and again that has a place to sit on the bender as well, at the right height for the hole here for the other bits. The eye bolt bending dog, again two pieces, and again a recess in this area, pushed it in there, welded it around, but you saw how this was made. The thread here, I think the plan said a M18 by 2.5 pitch, but I only had an M18 by 1.5 pitch, so it's a finer thread, but I mean it works absolutely fine. And the nut goes on there like that. Now the plan did say make 2 nuts, so I did make 2 nuts. I think that's for the yoke, so you'll have a nut for the bending dog here, and you'll have a nut for the yoke part, which we'll look at making in another video. And lastly, there is this pin here, which I don't know the name of or the number, but what I'll do is I'll put it up on the screen. And it's a shorter pin because it fits inside the swinging arm, and it's for specific bends where something needs to be held in the swinging arm, but the swinging arm needs to go inside the fixed arm, so it needs to slide within the fixed arm. The height of that does not poke out of the swinging arm, if that makes sense. I'll try and put a picture up for that as well. So I started off this video by starting to make the square blocks, which I thought would be an easy part to make. And you know, it would be an easy part to make, but I had to cut the big chunk of steel, and that was taking so long to cut on the bandsaw that I just went ahead and started making these parts, and I pretty much made them all while I was making those cuts. So I've got those 2 blocks cut up. Now the problem is these need to be square, so I actually need to cut, you know, down here as well, and that's going to take some more time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that, and then I'm going to make these blocks up in the next video, along with some other tooling as well. Let's take a look how the eye bolt bending dog works. So first I'll use the offset pin and put it in hole number 1. The nut goes on the eye bolt bending dog, and the eye bolt just fits on the back there, so it's just a loose fit. I'll put that in number 5 and just slide the slot across the top there. Then we can put our piece of steel in here. And just catch the end of the metal here. And then that just gets pulled around that diameter there. Can be turned around and tidied up a little bit. I've finished all the tooling parts for this first video. As you can see, I've gone and hot glued these parts as well, so that'll give them a bit of protection against rusting. So there's one thing that I didn't actually show on the video. The eye bolt bending dog here has a sharp corner here which is used to pull the metal round on the top of the bender there. So this is just mild steel, and on that first bend that you saw, it put an indent in here. So you could use steel with high carbon that you could harden for this part, although I didn't have any of that available, so I just made it out of mild steel. So what I've done in this case is just welded some weld along this face and along the face here as well, and then I've ground it all the way back to how it's supposed to be. I've tried it again after that, bending another eyelet, and as you can see, there's no dents in here now, or no indentation, so that weld is certainly a lot harder, and I think that's going to be the answer for this part. So that's about it for this video. I've got the other blocks in the bandsaw now cutting, so I'll get those cut and then I'll make another video on this tooling for the Hossfeld bender, and it will include those blocks and some other common tooling parts that you need to do some of these bends in the bender. Thanks for watching.